Today we're just going to do a little discussion about the Chris Reeve knives Umnumzaan. Okay, so I can never pronounce that. The Zaan. All right. I'm not going to talk about all the details and specs. So if you came for that, I'm sorry. I have another video that I did that on before of this knife a while back. I'll put a link in the corner. Okay, so. And there's a million people having done specs and stuff. I think everybody is aware of this knife at this point, but it is the Chris Reeve knives Umnumzaan. And it is Reeve. It is Chris Reeve. A ton of people call it Chris Reeves. It's Chris Reeve. It's the person's name. Names are important. Okay, Chris Reeve. I love their packaging, and this is not, hey, I love Chris Reeve knives video. It's just a little bit of my thoughts about them in general. I don't personally own any Chris Reeve knives right now. I have owned several in the past, and I really wanted to love them. My older brother is a Chris Reeve knives fanatic. I think maybe that's about all he owns right now is Chris Reeve knives. He's moderator over on the Chris Reeve Knives fan page on Facebook and all that. So he is big into Chris Reeve. This particular one does come to us in Magna Cut because it is owned by Aussie Mike, and it's a newer build. But you get this sort of packaging and information with every knife they have. It shows all the parts and pieces. It tells you what tools, like it tells you how to sharpen it, the degrees, all of these things, which I think is super, super cool. And they give you a little history of the company, which I think is cool. Little sticker, and then your birth certificate / COA, which I think is cool that they put the full date, because people do try to get a knife on their birthday, on a child's birthday, on a grandchild's birthday. As my brother did, he got one made on his granddaughter's birthday. Super cool. So I think that's great. I think that the packaging is also great because they give you the Loctite, they give you some grease, they give you the tools that you need to take it apart and all of that. They do come with a lanyard. This one is cool because it came with a secondary pin for in there, which sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. The one I had, I didn't get a secondary pin, so I just had to cut it off. And I don't think I actually cut it off. I just never really carried my Sebenza. And I ended up selling it with the lanyard on. And you get a microfiber cloth and all of that stuff. So, on to the knife a little bit. That's a little bit about the packaging in Chris Reeve. So this one is actually, I believe, made to flip open. Most of your Sebenzas and things like that are more designed to slow roll out, which most people never do. And they just flick it open. This one has some little O-rings on the stop pins here to give it a little cushion when it locks open, because there is no slow rolling this thing out. There is no way. You have a little glass breaker here, standard titanium frame lock. Nothing really fancy. It's just a standard titanium frame lock. This particular one is a Tonto blade in Magna Cut. Apparently, Chris Reeve is not super proud of the Magna Cut because it doesn't say it in like 47-point font across the blade anywhere, which I greatly appreciate. The milling and stuff is super cool. Like, there's a lot of cool things about this knife. I do like the Tonto edge. I love how the bevel is so far back. It just looks mean and aggressive to me, and I like that. The lock bar. So rather than cutting a relief out of the show side so that you could access the lock bar, like on this VC Edge interface, how they've milled this out so that you can then reach in and get to the lock bar. Nope. They just made the lock bar higher. I don't like that feature of this particular knife, because when you're holding it, that to me is a little bit awkward feeling under my index finger. And if you choke up, it's now under your middle finger. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think of that? I'm sure a lot of people own this knife or have handled this knife. Is that a thing to you, or am I just being nitpicky? Could be. Deploying the knife is a little uncomfortable as well because the detent is super strong and you have to use the thumb stud in an outward motion. If you go up, you ain't going nowhere. You have to go out and then up. It's kind of awkward to me. The centering on this guy is really good. I know somebody commented the other day on a video that I didn't show the centering, so I'll show that. I listen. I read almost every comment, and I do try to listen and give, take those comments to heart. So just a couple of size comparisons because this is a full-size type knife. Again, I didn't do all the measurements, so I can't even tell you, but this one I do know is a 3.66 inch blade. Basically, you're the same size as a VC Edge interface. You're going to weigh a lot more and you're going to cost a lot less than this one anyway. The standard interface, that's a little bit of a toss-up. Because this is Magna Cut, I had to pull out my only Magna Cut knife, which is the RJ Martin Q36SS, which is about a 4-inch blade. So this is like 3 3/4 inches, 3.6 inch, in that neighborhood. So I think it's cool. Magna Cut is super fun because Aussie Mike loves a Magna Cut. I am not sold on Magna Cut. I think there's a lot of hype and it's just too early to tell because it's only been around a little while at the time of filming, a year-ish, I guess. Maybe a little longer. I don't know the whole history, but it's still early. We don't know yet until a few years from now. Who knows, right? But there is a lot of hype and people are very proud because it says Magna Cut all across the blades, usually. So, yeah, I don't know. I can only say that my RJ Martin has been fantastic. I have used it a bunch. It's still super sharp. I did chip the tip just ever so slightly, but that was user error. Nothing to do with the steel. But other than that, it has stayed very sharp. So, I mean, so far for me in normal EDC type carry and use, Magna Cut's been fine. But I don't know. Let me know your comments down below. I would love to hear. So, American made right here in Idaho. Not here in Idaho because I'm in California, but you know what I mean. So there you go. A quick just discussion about the Chris Reeve knives Zaan. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do the little nitpicks that I mentioned bother you as owners? Does it make any decisions, help you make a decision one way or the other because of that little hump there? Let me know. I would love to hear your comments below. Thanks a lot, guys.